Thank you very
Representative
much.
Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get started, I'd like to request unanimous consent to enter into the record the Department of the Air Force's Officer Source Commission applicant pool goal. Thank you so much. So I wanted to note that in this, it actually specifies the diversity and inclusion goals of the Department of the Air Force, and was happy to find the fact that it's broken down into individual categories, of which I noted that by gender, it only notes male and female. Does that identify the fact that for everyone who is a witness here that there are only two genders?
Sir, those are the genders that are recognized by the Office of Personnel or by there's an OPM by OPM.
So would you agree then there's only two genders?
Sir, I would agree that yes.
Vice Admiral Buck,
Yes, I agree.
Lieutenant General.
Sir, two genders identified by our DEers.
Thank you, and I would absolutely agree with that. Staying with Lieutenant General Clark, the Air Force Academy recently encouraged cadets in diversity and inclusion training to use gender-neutral language and refrain from using things like mom and dad. Does the Air Force Academy still conduct these types of diversity and inclusion programs?
Sir, we didn't actually tell cadets to refrain from using mom and dad. We told cadets to understand the context of the people that they're talking to before they refer to them, their parents, their family, or even their context. And so that was the crux of that training. Of course, I would never tell anyone to not use the words mom and dad, especially
You, Lieutenant
right
General,
now.
refer to your mom and dad as mom and dad?
I do. They're sitting right behind me. And so, of
Well,
course,
hello, mom and dad. I'm not sure where you guys are.
yes, sir. But we do allow the words mom and dad, but we do want to help our cadets to understand the people who they're leading, to know their context before they engage with them. And I think that's a leadership 101 sort of idea.
Do you believe that cadets should use gender-neutral language when referring to their parents as your diversity and inclusion training recommends?
Until they know what gender their parents are, yes.
Vice Admiral Buck, in 2021, you signed and endorsed the U.S. Naval Academy Diversity and Inclusion Strategic Plan. This plan includes steps such as develop, maintain a comprehensive cultural awareness and bias literacy training framework. Regarding outlined areas of concern, such as admissions and creating a metric that can measure and track belongingness with a biannual survey for students and cadre. How do we track belongingness?
Sir, since publishing that strategic document, very, very little of it has been implemented. The one aspect of it that we have implemented is creating and improving our mentorship availability at the Academy across the brigade with all midshipmen. But as we went back and looked at that document, we realized that it requires much further and deeper review before we implement any of the other aspects of that. So to your specific question about what metric there is, I don't know. We've not created it, nor are we measuring it.
Okay, thank you so much. Lieutenant General Gillen, I've got a tremendous amount of respect for your service and for what you've done, not only with regiment, but also with the unit and other areas, as well as I have a good friend of mine who's a former teammate, Major Casey Bell, who was an instructor out there, so he told me some good things about you when you were there previous to becoming the superintendent as a commandant. I wanted to note that, do you believe that meritocracy is more substantial in creating leaders and new warfighters than the ideas of DEI?
Sir, I believe that our force is made up of a diverse nation, and that our leaders, based on their promotions through a meritocracy, have to be aware of that diverse force. And and our leaders have got to understand that in leading the men and women of our armed forces, that they're aware, there's an awareness, there's a professional knowledge in order to be able to lead forces competently, to be able to form disciplined, cohesive teams, and to be able to achieve the common goals of
I don't
their
disagree with
respective
that at all.
organization.
Would you say, though, that DEI would be a key factor in something such as OTC?
Could you repeat that, please, sir?
Would you consider diversity to be a key factor into OTC, officer course that comes out of the unit, or would it be about meritocracy?
Gentleman's time has expired.
I yield back.
Representative Alford.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate it.